Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with our template is change the title information in the H1 tag, and we're going to call this file block and inline display links. Block and inline links. And we'll save the file as block-inline-links.html. So again, that's block-inline-links.html, and we have this basic content here. What we're going to need to style, though, is we want to look at a link and how it naturally displays on a page. So what you're going to need for yourself is a paragraph full of text, and you can go to Lorem Ipsum if you want to get that. That's what I'll do. So I'm just getting a paragraph of random text, Googled Lorem Ipsum. So I'll just copy that and paste that into the code. So now in my main content section, all I want to have is a big paragraph of text. And I'll turn view on so that it wraps. There we go. So take a moment and get your code set up till it's at this point right here. All right, once you have this in, we're going to go ahead and add a link in the middle of it. So find somewhere in the middle of that paragraph and write an ahref and choose 2 or 3 words. And we're just going to use the hash sign or the pound sign instead of putting a link in. So that'll just give us what's called a dummy link. So somewhere in the middle of your code, in the middle of the paragraph, put ahref equal to, and then you're just going to use the hashtag or pound sign, and then don't forget to close your anchor tag. So if we go back and we look at this in the browser, didn't save it to the right place. Block and inline. There we go. Okay. So notice how I have a link right in the middle of my text. This is what's called inline positioned element. Inline meaning that when you write it, it displays in the middle of whatever body of text is outside of it. Now let's go in with CSS and change it from inline to display block and see what happens. So if we come up and we add some CSS at the top, we could do that by using our style tag, type equals text hyphen CSS. Don't forget to close your style tag. And then I'm going to say all links display block. And let's go ahead and refresh that. And what you're going to notice is that when we say display block, here's the code again, that our anchor tag is going to come down and be on its own line now, and there's nothing else around it. So go ahead and set your code up till you have an anchor tag that then appears on its own line and breaks automatically just by adding the CSS. Okay, so we've changed this from inline to block, and we see that it breaks down onto its own line. Let's change it back to inline, which it is by default, so we don't ever have to say display inline. But if we change it back to inline, see what happens. Notice that now the link is no longer on its own line. Go back and change it to display block. Notice that it's on its own line. Go back and change it to display inline. Notice that now it's in line with all the other text. When we work with links, this is helpful because some margin and padding properties don't apply real well when we're working with links that are inline. So let's test this out. Let's go and declare 10 pixels of padding, 10 pixels of margin. Let's give it a border that we could see. And some sort of background color. Why not? Yellow. Sounds appropriate and beautiful. Let's even make my border. So I've got margin, padding, padding, margin, border, and background. Go ahead and add that up to your code. Okay, so if we go and take a look at this code in the browser, what we see is that, notice that there's padding up top, but notice it hasn't moved itself down. We said margin, and it moved itself the margin on the right and left, but notice there's no top and bottom margin. Now, what happens when we take this, and without changing anything else, all we do is we change display from inline to block. Notice now it spreads across the entire screen by default, and it has a top and bottom margin. Notice the other thing though, and this is what's really important, is that if you hover over on the far right-hand side of that, it still works as a link. See how when I hover over, it shows the pointer sign? So this means that this entire block is a link. If we're going to work with links in navigation that we want to have this element of them being bigger and having a bigger clickable area, then all we have to do is assign them to be display block and start working with margin and padding. So in this example, all we'll do is we'll stop here because that was just to show the basics, and then we'll start looking at some more navigation menus, something real simple. So get your example up to this point, and then we'll stop here for this example.